Welcome everyone to another exciting episode of Mo Football Podcast. I'm your host Musa Seka, and today we have Fabian Renkel on the call. And today we have the pleasure of having him joining me to talk about his experience as a sport journalism, his passion for soccer, and also a just MLS in general, and getting to know a little bit more about his insight and why he may have voted for Berkey goalie, but not the MVP. That's a long story, but hopefully he'll help us clarify that. And a little bit of his background. He's a writer for Forbes and
Yep.
Area Sport Network coach.
Mm-hmm.
And from my understanding, you've also founded and launched FutWRK Magazine.
Yeah. FutWRK's like my passion project.
Excellent. And yeah, so we'll just get to know a little bit more about your storytelling skills and also making sure that, the whole St. Louis city group get to know you a little bit better. And I believe you're a San Jose soccer fan as well.
Yeah. So my boyhood club is the San Jose Earthquakes. I started covering the team, and then I cover the whole league now. But yeah, I would say I don't like to say I'm a fan too much, so I'm not too biased. I try my best to not be biased, but Espinoza deserves MVP, right? We all know that.
Yeah. It's still debatable.
No, but thank you so much for having me on. It's a true pleasure. Your smile all over social media brightens my day, so I'm so excited to be on your show. This is something that I've wanted to do for a couple of weeks now. So I'm glad I can finally be on. Thank you for having me on.
Yes. So since I had that quick introduction, so maybe could you tell us a little bit about how you started? Because I will assume guess you started just a few years back.
Yeah.
So what got you into journalism from there, and what led you to MLS?
Yeah. So what's up, St. Louis? I'm new to the game, just like you guys. Maybe only 2 or 3 years into the game. I started reporting because I had a love of the sport. I wanted the sport to grow. I always wanted to make a podcast. I always wanted to, tell stories, hang out, talk about soccer in America, because I never had that friendship in my group of friends. So I would always go to these online communities and match with other Earthquake fans or MLS fans. And ever since I was, 16, 15, 17, I had jerseys from all over the league. So I had a love from, I had a Portland jersey, I had an Orlando jersey, I had a Toronto jersey. So I actually had love for the league as a whole. So my transition from just covering the Earthquakes to the whole league, was bound to happen. And St. Louis is a part of that now. And, you guys have a great fan base out there, and you guys are doing a really, really big thing. I have a buddy of mine in PR named Kashawn, and then another buddy of mine who used to be a reporter down in LA, Benjamin. I don't know if you guys know him. He hangs out with all the players. I think he's the player manager, but he's always around all the players and stuff. So you guys have a great staff down there. Your GM's doing crazy things. If they would have asked me at the beginning of the year where you saw St. Louis, my answer probably wouldn't be all the way at the bottom, because I knew something sneaky because I covered MLS Next Pro last year. So I knew this team was good, just seeing from their MLS Next Pro games. And I actually love the kind of style that St. Louis is taking into account, because a lot of teams are actually trying to duplicate it. I know for a fact LAFC is trying to bring in guys, put them in MLS Next Pro, and then see how they do after their first year, see how they accommodate to the American lifestyle, which is actually a big thing if you think about it, because all these players are people. But yeah, let me get a little more into myself. My bad. I'm so happy to talk about St. Louis, So
yeah, you probably should have put our placement compared to everyone else. You probably would have been like the GOAT.
Yeah, right. If MLS would have asked me then, right?
Yes, you would have been up there and probably would have had a seat at City Park if you would have put that up.
Yeah, but I used to live in Japan, so I started reporting from Japan. And I would wake up at 3 a.m. to be on press conferences for the Earthquakes. I would do player interviews all the way from Japan. And then when I came to the States, I started with, like I was saying, MLS Next Pro and covering the Earthquakes on a weekly basis. covering the local scene out here in San Francisco or San Jose, the Bay Area, if you're local with or familiar with California.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I started FutWRK recently. It's been about a couple months that I said I was going to make a magazine. Um, it just felt right. It felt like I grew up, reading Slam magazine for basketball,
Yep.
and I loved it. I was a kid. I would save all the magazines. Oh, this is AI. This is the AI version. I got to keep this one. Oh, this is Ben Wallace with the big hair. I got to keep this one. So I was a big avid basketball fan growing up, and Slam magazine was something that I was just totally inspired by. And FutWRK is going in that direction, and I love just where it's at, and I think it's a great it's something that I felt like the MLS community was missing. And I feel like I can fill that void with my kind of skills that I learned at Area Sports Network and Forbes. So it's right now it's just a passion project because I have to work through making physical copies and things like that because MLS image rights and things like that.
That's
But
another beast.
yeah, exactly. So I give it out for free because it's like, that's, like you said, is a whole nother beast. And I've always been a person that likes to give out information for free. That's kind of what I stood on in my journalistic career. I didn't really go to school for journalism. I went to school for marketing. So a lot of my stats and things like that are usually marketing driven. Like I do Google Trends all the time. So that's a lot of fun. St. Louis is always on Google Trends. You guys are crazy for your team. And
That's
that's
what
what's up.
it's
It's
all
good to
about.
see. Yeah. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. So yeah, and that was one of the things that kind of impressed me. Because I think your name kind of popped up in our feeds. Especially when you're completely on the West Coast.
Yeah.
But one of the things that was impressive was that all the big I guess the channels and all that had all their fancy cameras, and then you were in there with with your cell phone and
Right.
getting those interviews. For me, that was kind of impressive because it's like you're in that grind
Right.
to start with. So it's just showing the growth that you've had, and that you have the access. So that's not everyone that's able to get it. So
Yeah.
just knowing that you're that person with your yourself, your iPhone pretty much, and your microphone and getting those interviews, it pretty much kind of shows the grinding part.
Yeah,
Um,
and it
yeah,
shows anybody can do it, right? And
yeah,
I love that. I mean, if you're a reporter, if you're a journalist, if you're a content creator, and you have a question, feel free. I mean, I'm always available. And with Area Sports Network, I kind of run. I would say I'm the content manager for all the stuff that comes out of Area. And
okay,
I've worked with 30 photographers. I've worked with 15 reporters, kind of teaching them and training them and keeping them under my wing. Because at the end of the day, I'm a big believer in karma. If
yes,
you do the right thing, if you help people, it's always going to come back. And if it doesn't come back tomorrow, it's going to come back someday. So,
yes,
this community, honestly, this community is so small compared to what it can be. So I'm a big believer in uplifting everybody that makes content because at the end of the day, we were the ones that were here before soccer blew up, and it's
yeah.
gonna blow up, and that's for sure.
And it's just the beginning. So yes, and that's pretty much maybe if you've seen some of mine too is um I'm nothing journalism or PR. I'm just that guy that grew up with soccer.
It's awesome though.
Back in France. And I just had the tools to be able to do it. So it was just a fun thing. I pretty much started with the whole Giphy thing where it was just out of the blue a joke with other friends that was like, hey, who can make the fastest gift about it? And then after that, it just grew up to the whole Twitter community. If you've seen it
Yeah.
in St. Louis, is was quite surprising that it just um we'll say it's almost like 200-300 of our close friends in
Yeah.
Twitter that we just talk to each other pretty much all day long,
And I try to
and that's
sneak my
what kind of
way in
led
there.
to it.
I try to say, "Oh, Lowen had a good game. What's up?"
Right. And it's always welcome too, right? Um, you pretty much can see that I think if it's anyone that comes into I guess the St. Louis sphere, we'll call it,
Yeah.
anyone that comes with good content and communications,
Right.
it's always open arms. We do talk with other fans. You sometimes have those out of pocket, maybe we'll say, Twitter ones, but other than that, it's awful fun. And I'm here at 11 o'clock
Right.
Central Time talking about it, so it's fun. So that's pretty much why we reached out to you. It was for
Yeah, thank you.
that person, because I'm always going to reach out to anyone that has those good content and
Thank you.
see what get to know more about St. Louis, and hopefully we'll bring you back in here for one of those games.
Hey, I'm down. I'm down.
All right, so yeah, so pretty much what we'll do now is a few soccer questions
Sure.
outside of MLS, if
Yeah.
you want to, maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
so what we'll say is if you could have your 5v5
Oof.
team,
Oof.
and you can use any players dead or alive, but if you
Dead or
pick
alive.
5, yes.
So I'm Uruguayan.
Okay.
So that's going to be a little bit of a bias.
It can be complete. You can have it all 5.
Uruguay is actually great for five a squad because they had really good attackers and really good defenders. We were
That's
pretty
right.
pretty weak in the midfield, but now it's the opposite, right? With Valverde, with Ugarte. Nowadays it's like night and day. But this is tough, man. This is tough. All right, I'm gonna go number one. Zlatan. You gotta have Zlatan in there. I feel like in a
The,
five
the
aside
God, yes.
in a five-a-side Sunday
Yeah.
league, I want that guy. I
Yes.
want that guy to be talking smack, drinking beers on the field, just doing anything to keep people off their rocker, right? You gotta have Messi. You gotta have Messi, greatest of
Yes.
all time. So you also need a little small guy, a little creative
Yep.
guy, just to wreak havoc on the defender. So
The football guy, so yes.
yeah, exactly, right? This is tough. This is tough because I'm a flashy guy. I like flashy
Okay.
things. So Ronaldinho. I gotta have Ronaldinho in there.
Then you have one of my top 5 of all time, so we're good on that one.
Okay, so Ronaldinho. If I'm gonna have to put some defenders, I think this is where I get a little bit biased. I'm probably gonna say Diego Godin with Uruguay. I felt like
Yep.
he had a solid career with Atletico Madrid and with Uruguay. Maybe could be possibly one of the best defenders of all time. And then I need a guy who gets dirty. I need a guy who isn't scared to do double slide tackles. I need Sergio Ramos in there. Let's get a little dirtiness.
Yes. So you have the talker, you have a quiet one,
Yep. The
and
flashy one,
flashy one.
the
Yes.
captain, and then someone that's dirty. That's what I need.
All right.
Yeah.
I think I'll take those.
It was either
Perfect.
Ronaldinho or Neymar, and I just got to go with Ronaldinho. I mean, I'm thinking, small spaces. I'm thinking someone that grew up on the streets playing soccer like that. So I got to go with Ronaldinho.
Yeah, he's still killing it now, even though he's 40 pounds heavier.
hey, the Husky breastfeeds the ball. You know what I'm saying?
He never lost that touch. That's for sure.
Yeah. What about you? Who's in your top 5?
So I think for me, so it will be a little bit biased also, but we'll say Zidane because he's French. He's
Yeah.
my all-time GOAT. So for defender, I have Roberto Carlos
Okay.
because he's short, stocky, fast,
Yeah.
and those free kicks. That's probably where I might get in trouble because I will put Ronaldo over
Okay.
Messi.
Okay.
And then after that, I'll have Thierry Henry on there.
Okay. Thierry Henry, yeah.
And I don't know if you know the old Nigerian JJ Okocha.
Oh, I don't know.
Yes, you might want to check him out. He was pretty much the Nigerian version of Ronaldinho.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yes. And they both play for PSG, which was my hometown soccer team. So I got to watch them both play together and for at least a year or two.
Is there something that sets him apart? I think
It's the dribbling part.
Oh, no, but like physical features?
No, I think he was one of those, back in the days they had those long clothes, I guess.
Yeah.
But he was like kind of short and stocky.
Okay.
So he played for PSG, but he also played for Everton.
Okay.
And Nigeria. So if you look at him, you'll see he had those skills where he probably made a lot of his coaches mad because he was dribbling the ball way too much.
That's funny.
Yeah, he's one of those guys.
Okay. I like that.
Yes. So I had to put a little French, African, and South African American on there.
There you go. I like that. Worldwide.
To make it all over. It's excellent. So yeah, so we already have your dream team. Um, so on that part, so we'll see. Maybe we'll start the argument here between
Yeah.
Ronaldo and Messi.
Oh, shit.
We won't have you go too deep into it, but
No.
what would you say is like if if that was your go-to person in their prime? Because right now
Yeah.
Ronaldo is not helping his case.
Yeah. I've always liked Messi as a person more. I felt
Yeah,
like being a humble kind of goat is something that we don't really see. It's
I
in
thought you
my
liked
opinion,
flashy.
yeah, he's flashy on the field though. So
Yeah,
um, I don't know. This is weird, right? I do like flashy. I
yeah,
do like players that are in your face about it,
mhm,
but I also think that Messi's such an anomaly. I mean, he's such a like alien, right? He's
yeah,
so good at the game, yet he's so quiet off the pitch. He's such a good role model for kids.
yes,
It's like, gosh, it's my love and hate at the same time because there was a time where Uruguayans didn't like Messi, right? There was a time where we were rivals before
yes,
Suarez and Messi became best friends, right? So um, it's something that I've always had an admiration for Messi.
mhm,
I was a big fan of MSN, the South American guys.
yeah,
So a little South American bias there too for me. But I just think Messi, with all the accolades he has now, getting his next ball in the Oro, I think it could be finally said that he's the GOAT.
yeah. That Ballon d'Or is like I'm still debating if he should have it or not, but yeah, that one's a touchy one.
Yeah,
But definitely, and yeah, and that's the word I ask about. The whole Messi, Ronaldo, because depending on who and where you're from,
yeah,
you
exactly.
kind of have the question, and a lot of the time it's just Messi, and then they just have the question of he's the greatest of all time, but not really have a justification for it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But you definitely brought it up. The reason behind the Messi, um, no,
Yeah,
putting his name.
and look, in basketball, I love a Ronaldo type. I love a guy who
Yeah,
chirps. I love a guy who gets mad when they don't get past the ball. But I'm in soccer. There's something different about an unselfish player like that. Um, just trying to do the best for his team to the T, right? And we saw it with Leagues Cup in MLS, right? This guy, he's won everything, but he still wants to win Leagues Cup,
yes,
which is like, all right, dude, you don't need it, but I guess you still want it. So I
yeah.
don't know. I just
Oh
there's
yeah,
an admiration I have for Messi and a little bias that he came to MLS too. Maybe if Ronaldo came, I'd be like,
yeah. He almost did.
yeah,
Almost. And
we're in
to
Kansas
our
City, right?
rival.
He would have been
Yeah,
your rival.
yeah, oh, big time. I would have hated him from there for forever. But uh, yeah, and I think for Messi, I've maybe if you see a lot of the posts, I may have maybe have a little bit of hate on there sometime when his name pops up when he's not playing against us. But and also that he literally took another World Cup from France.
Mm.
So that I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah,
a
you're
little
right.
sour about that one.
That
Uh,
that's the best World Cup final I've ever seen in my life. I was by
yes,
myself watching it, standing up screaming. By myself. Nobody was in the house, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. Best
I
World Cup.
still have it at number two for me
Mm.
because I watched the '98 World Cup
Oh, okay.
in France, and I was at home, and we actually were at the stadium to watch it. So
Oh,
this one was like the first one. th- There's almost nothing that can beat it.
right, right.
Um, you were at home watching the game. I was actually at my kids' swim meet, so
Okay.
I had my laptop on the side and all jerseys.
Right.
Um, and every parent knew what I was watching, and they pretty much knew the score based on how I was looking at. And majority of the time, I was pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they start scoring, and then they start to laugh. They're like, "Oh, your face was changing from like a smile to angry, angry to smile." And then at the end, I probably didn't talk to anyone for
Yeah.
about 30 minutes. I
Right.
was like, I don't need to talk. So, so that was the Messi effect on my life. And then he shows up in MLS now.
Well,
So it's like, yeah,
Mbappe, I mean, you guys
yeah,
have. I mean, I don't see anybody beating you guys for the next 8 years. So, I mean,
yeah.
I think Mbappe turns it on during a World Cup. He's going to be the best player. I think he's going to go down as the best World Cup player of all time. And
I
and
hope.
that's something that's really really hard to do.
Yeah, and I'm still skeptical on how well he will, his GOAT level
Yeah,
status. Um, I don't know if maybe World Cup wise, he probably will be greatest and score heavy goals and everything, but
He's gonna pass
um,
close and no problem.
uh, without even a doubt.
Yeah.
He did just did it during a World Cup final.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, Mbappe is it's one of he's our we'll say drama queen, drama
He's a
king
little Neymar,
for yes. Uh,
huh?
with a little bit more Frenchness on top of it.
He needs to fix that jump shot. I saw a video of him trying to shoot a basketball. That's number one
Yeah,
he needs to do. Fix that jump shot.
yeah. I think we need him to score more goals and then forget about basketball for a bit. So yeah, so those were the quick questions just to see get a feel of yourself. So other than that, is there any other players that kind of get introduce you to the sport or wanted you to, emulate or even um play like growing up?
Yeah, growing up, I was not the best kid playing soccer. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
I scored a couple
Okay.
of own goals. So it was. I just played youth soccer. I played up till nine
Okay.
years old, and it wasn't the funnest thing in the world. But I had a Del Piero jersey, so I always wanted to be like Del
Nice.
Piero. So that was something that I always kind of looked up to. Um, I had a Inter Miami, Inter
Oh,
Milan jersey.
yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah. With so I always liked Inter Milan, but growing up, to be honest, I wish I had more stars that I loved, but Forlan captured my attention in 2010. Um,
Oh, yes,
so
he was it.
yeah, and I always remember him talking before the World Cup about the Jubilani ball, how he's practicing with the Jubilani ball, and how he
Yeah.
got the Jubilani ball about a year before the actual game started. So I always remembered if you do your homework, you can do really well. So that's something that always stuck with me. Even if it's Forlan with the Jubilani ball, right? I always kind of live by that. I mean, if you're prepared, you can't get nervous, and you'll show up.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, so I think that kind of brings back to you kind of mentioned the Jubilee Ball and practice. So could you tell us a little bit more about the FutWRK
Yeah,
magazine? It looks like it leads from Jubilee Ball practice soccer feed to
right,
FutWRK
right.
magazine. I
Hey,
kind of like that.
everybody needs footwork in dancing and
Yeah.
basketball and soccer, right? No, so footwork is always necessary.
Mhm.
But yeah, with footwork, I mean, like I said earlier, it's a passion project of mine. I work with a lot of reporters and a lot of photographers, and I felt like, yeah, posting articles is cool. Yeah, posting photos is cool. But what if we put it all together? I also started this reporter life making graphics. I had a
Mhm.
love for graphic design. So I was spending 6 hours making graphics when I lived in Japan, and I thought, this is really cool, and it's something that was really new school to the soccer world. And I thought, why not mix it all together? I know a lot of people still like that old medium in kind of reading articles, reading the newspaper, but I know a lot of people that like new media where it's more in your face kind of content. It's more reporters kind of interviewing players, like I do, like you said, on my iPhone. It's TikTok videos, storylines. People love storylines on TikTok. I don't know if you are very familiar with the TikTok soccer world. It's all
I
about
started just a little bit.
yeah,
Still a lot of work to do, but yes,
it's
it's
all about the storylines, right? So I thought, where's something I can make a concoction of, articles, photographers, graphic design, and stories. And I thought, what, let's just make a magazine. Growing pains, right? I mean, there's a couple of mistakes in our first articles, because it's just gonna bound to happen because I'm starting to be an editor as well. So, growing pains. But a lot of the clubs around the league are very excited for it, and that's something that I'm very grateful for. We just released our first article with a sit down interview that New York Red Bulls actually wanted us to do. So
nice.
that's a big step. I mean, we got our
Yes.
first credentials with the Hani Mukhtar spread that we did for Nashville. We were
Okay.
able
That
to
was
get
a big one.
yeah, we were able to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
photographers in under FutWRK under our magazine, and that was a big step too. And then
Mhm.
this one too, in my opinion, is a big sit down interview. That's a big one too. And I got to give a shout out to everybody that helps me with this because I'm not alone here. But I do write on there sometimes, so it's just I thought it was going to be maybe a little faster in terms of content, but I,
Okay.
I think I'm more quality over quantity in this case because I want to make sure that someone's proud to display my work or
Mhm.
our writer's work on their page. So like Hani Mukhtar shared it, Bawanga shared his spread, Daniel Edelman probably will share a spread in the next couple of days. So it's something that if it looks great, people are going to see it.
Sure.
And my whole thing is, yes, you always need to make good content, but you also need to make people see it. That's my marketing kind of aspect of it.
Nice. Yeah, you got Buonga. That's the guy that I watched playing at Saint Etienne. So it was um it was fun when he was at came to City Park to play against LAFC. I was cheering for St. Louis 110%, but I had that 5%. I was like, that's the guy I saw in France play
Right.
for a little bit.
What about
So
Miguel Trauco for San Jose?
yes, I have not seen him just yet.
Okay.
I think San Jose. I think we only played them once, I believe.
Yeah, I think you played at our place. No, wait, I
Yeah,
think
I
did we
thought that
play?
was
Season's so long that we forgot.
yes. And it's the playoffs, so we're like, yeah,
Yeah, right. Yeah, we might play the playoffs, right? Yeah, so we'll see.
that'll be the very interesting part.
Still have nightmares
And
of Klaus just butting San Jose's defense, so I don't need that again. All right.
well, he's back and healthy, so I
Right.
can't make any promises. But yeah, and that's the nice French connection with Danny, and I guess it was kind of fun to hear that he needed a translator for a
Yeah.
lot of that part. So it was interesting, and I think that's probably where I saw your FutWRK magazine spread. That was through him and
Yeah.
his post. So I
Yeah, I
guess
mean,
it all works.
I'm so grateful. I mean, but MVPs and potential MVPs, Golden Boot winners are sharing the work that I do. Who am I? I'm just this 28-year-old from San Jose, California. So again, extremely grateful for all of the likes, all the retweets, all the shares. Because honestly, without the fan base, without MLS communities, this wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, and I do see that this community is like hungry for like small content
Yeah.
creators, and almost I think I even made friends with LAFC content creators.
Yeah.
So and it's just reaching out. So I definitely saw that there's that anger to bring MLS, I guess, to the masses,
Right.
and I guess you probably saw in St. Louis there's podcasts now for everything and
Yeah.
videos.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's definitely, I know it's tough when you're a content creator and there's other people around, but I've always thought about this way. Your fight's not against other MLS people. Your
Right.
fight's actually against the people that don't even give soccer a chance. So
Right.
if you find stories and you find ways of people consuming your media in different ways, maybe you grab that new soccer fan. So that was kind of my angle ever since I started. And I think you can see that with FutWRK and everything and all the interviews that the people that support me on Instagram, right? Actually, a lot of those people are people that I grew up with, and now they know Dennis Bawanga. Now they know Hanny Mukhtar. So it's just like, oh, well, you're making stars. You're making stars in these little bubbles. So
Yes.
it's pretty fun.
Oh, awesome. So yeah, so pretty much it definitely showing that the MLS is growing compared to what I've been accustomed to.
Yeah.
And yes, and a lot more welcoming. Let's just say that my European counterparts, if you're not European, it's kind of hard to start.
Of course.
Yes.
I'm not gonna move to Spain and just start making La Liga content. Maybe, who knows? Vosotros,
Hey, yeah, the more Messi brought him here to begin with, so why not, right?
Right.
Excellent. So yes, and also knowing that it's still Hispanic Heritage Month. So what could you tell us a little bit more what that means to you, especially having the MLS celebrate that, and also if you could share some memories about players from St. Louis. From the MLS celebrating, and or maybe what San Jose is doing to celebrate
Yeah,
Hispanic Month.
being Hispanic and finally having this month to represent our people in so many different ways. Because at the end of the day, there's so many different Hispanics, right? From any color. I mean, any color can be Hispanic. I used to live in Japan, and there was Peruvian Japanese that are Hispanic as well, but they look like they're Japanese. So it's really awesome that you get so many walks of life in being Hispanic. It's just you get so many different cultures. I'm honestly learning new things from Brazilians. I'm learning new things from Colombians. I'm learning new things from Mexicans. I'm learning new things from, again, Peruvians, right? So it's just awesome that we can all share this one month. Growing up in, being the outsider, right? I mean, I was Uruguayan. There's no Uruguayan on the West Coast. They're all in New Jersey or in Miami, right? So
I
Uh,
did not know that.
yeah, right. So it was, it's nice to have a representation. It's nice to, actually, to be honest, that's probably why I felt so accustomed to a lot of the players in the league. Because yes, they're Argentinian. There's a lot of Argentinian superstars like Espinoza, Driussi, Velasco. There's a lot of these guys, but Uruguayan and Argentinian is very similar. So when I do talk to Velasco, when I do talk to Espinoza, I feel like I do a good job at kind of getting them out of their shell and
Okay.
being a reporter that speaks this their version of Spanish
Mhm.
is something that I can put on the keyboard in a certain way that it's a little more understood. So Espinoza will give me a little more because he trusts me enough to translate it in the right way.
Right.
So
Yes.
I'm very grateful for being in my position. And I mean, being Hispanic is truly, truly awesome to me. I love my parents always giving me the name Favian or Favian because it's always going to be with me. I know Renkel's not the most Hispanic last name, but Favian
And
is.
first name is that's what starts it all.
Yeah, so I'm always super super proud of my name. I think it's so awesome that MLS is doing something to kind of help Hispanic Heritage Month.
Right.
And it's just cool to see around the league. I know a lot of the LA clubs are doing a little bit more geared to Day of the Dead, Mexican heritage. But the Quakes did a Uruguayan Heritage Night, so it's something to see. I love it because I do a lot to try to uplift, Spanish players or Hispanic
Right.
players in MLS. So it's something that just goes hand in hand with my content.
Yeah, and that was the kind of the pretty fun part of things, especially and I guess probably give a big shout out to our STL Santos group.
Yeah,
There, if you look at a lot of the communications from St. Louis, that's had Super Santos. That's like pretty much everywhere in St. Louis. And I went to a lot of the parties that they were having. And it's even this just the STL Santos. If you would think that is more of just the Hispanic
mm.
kind of supporting group, they've pretty much welcomed anyone to that group. You go in there and you probably see the more of the United Nation versus um, you know, we'll say the more of a Hispanic
Right,
supporting group, which I spend a lot of time with them. That's where wanted to bring up that question also because it's always one of those things where us African too, even though I'm French, when we see someone that's like us, so
right,
we kind of tend to take the entire continent and embrace it, even though we're just part of a smaller country,
right,
but it's just at the end of the day we're almost brown and black people, so anything that uplift that group or
right.
our group and bring a voice is always a good thing when the league is showing that support um, for the entire league versus just our own team celebrating um, those months.
Yeah, and I had a pretty big post at the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month where a lot
Mhm.
of reporters in this field or in the sports world are not from ethnic backgrounds, are not brown and black, right? So I hold a lot on my shoulders for the Hispanic community when I say I try to do my best to compete with the likes of you know the
The big
demographics
boys.
not being on my
Yeah.
side,
Oh,
so
yeah.
and in soccer it's a little more leaning to maybe a lot more Hispanics, but I try to do my best to try to mold those two groups together. And
Mhm.
I feel like it means a lot to me to be one of the most prominent Hispanic reporters in the Spanish and English world. And it's truly a blessing to me.
Yeah, and that was the mad props on you also, especially how you grind, like I said earlier, kind of grind it and have that avenue, and maybe that will help bring other
Yeah,
Hispanic speaking
yeah,
creators. So
exactly.
it's definitely one of those. And that's why I'm hoping also to starting to see maybe a little bit more, we'll say Black or African
Yeah,
descent
yeah,
creators. Um, I'm more. I may speak a little bit more of that European side of things because I guess that's where I grew up,
yeah.
and didn't see as much, I guess, of people like me. We'll
Of
say
course.
um, when it comes to the MLS part. And I do starting to see a lot more these days are players coming from Africa directly to MLS,
Yeah,
and so it's definitely showing that the MLS is kind of shifting
yeah,
to more of a guess, global sports.
Yeah.
And the Apple deal definitely makes it even bigger because now I have people from Senegal, where my parents are from, and other part of Africa that are like, what St. Louis is like. I'm like, how do you know about him? It's like, it's just because Apple TV
Right.
makes it available. So a lot more of our players all across are now being seen a lot more. And Danny Bonga is being one in Gabon. I think he's starting to trend as much as the national players that play for the national team and the ones that are playing in bigger teams in Europe.
Yeah.
So that kind of is a lot.
And I want to say this. African players that play in MLS are actually the nicest people in the world. I got to give a shout out to Jonathan Mensah. I mean, that dude goes out of his way to make sure he says hello to me. A guy like Apoku, he's always smiling, always a good time, says yes to every interview. A lot of these guys are great people, and they made my job so easy too. So shout out to all the African players in MLS because you guys rock.
Yeah, and we have to see Josh Yarrow from St. Louis. So pretty much the same thing. If you hear about Josh, he's pretty much everywhere. Any small parties, you send him a message. You say, hey, there's a small gathering of supporters or something. He will show.
That's awesome.
I think the last time they were, in LA.
Yeah.
So they played in LA, and then the next Sunday there was STL Santos had an event.
Oh wow!
So he literally got off the plane from LA. A few hours later, he was at that event.
Oh, that's awesome.
The only first team player. So it kind of showed that like you say, some of those African players that do at fault do not say no to a lot of things.
Hey, but it makes the fan base love you even more. Shout out Josh Yarrow. That's pretty cool. We had a player like that in San Jose where we would throw a barbecue and he would come out. So that always stuck in the fan base, and this is going to stick in the San Luis fan base too.
Oh yes. Oh, now you see his jersey everywhere. So it's like it definitely shows that one where even with a team that were I think 8 months old, definitely show a lot. And I think.
You guys are an MLS Next Pro, all right?
Well, what's the MLS? Well, a lot of people were still considering us newcomers, even at the beginning.
You're the only team that's gotten promoted.
And I think and that's why I made good friends with Austin FC fans also and Austin TV, because at the very beginning when they did their predictions, I was watching it because I wanted to know what people were saying, and they had score of like Austin beating 6-0, 7-0. There was a 9-0.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, so there was still that newcomer feel from that. But then after that, now we're good people all the time, and I even cheer for Austin too. I guess yesterday when they were playing for MLS too. So we made good friends.
That's good.
Yes. So I think and I guess to bring it back to a little bit to your experience on here. So it looks like you've covered for I guess a few more teams now.
Yeah.
So is there like a story and event that kind of motivated you to do a lot more content for MLS, or a moment that was like, hey, this is it, and I want to pursue it further?
Yeah, when I'm very lucky and grateful to be in San Jose, an MLS team, right? So I can go to the game and then kind of walk into the visitor locker room, and I can ask Hani Mukhtar, hey, you want to play for USA? So it's like I have access, and I'm very grateful for that. And I kind of thought to myself, maybe I can ask guys questions that people want to know. And since I do have some backing of the MLS communities, and some sort of fan base, that I can get that tweet, and that tweet will pop off into those communities. So there were some times where I would want to interview San Jose players, but I thought it would be more beneficial to the community and to the whole if I interviewed the other team. Because I know there's great San Jose reporters already. I know that side's going to be covered for the San Jose fan. But I was like, hey, why not talk to Walker Zimmerman? Why not talk to Alan Velasco? Why not talk to Sebastian Lletget? So it was just, it's honestly, it was pretty seamless of a transition. I went to
Okay.
DC. I covered the All Star game, and man,
That was nice.
I did like what 38 interviews. So I was pumping content, like insane content. I was talking about, um, Tim Parker. I was talking about Luciano Acosta. I was talking about Hani Mukhtar, Christian Benteke, and I had so much content going in all those interviews that it just felt natural. I was like, I need to be busy all the time, and I need to be involved with everything because I feel like I could get the most, like I was saying earlier, the most out of the Spanish speaking players like a Driussi or Acosta speaks good English now, but maybe before he spoke good English, I could kind of really put out what I feel like they're saying. So it really went hand in hand for me. I covered an MLS Cup. Again, I did LA versus Philadelphia, and since I would say I'm kind of local to Los Angeles, about 5 hours away from the Bay Area. I was covering Philly, and a lot of Philly fans were really enjoying the content I had. A lot of Philly fans really appreciated the content because everybody was covering LA. That's the big market team. Everybody wants to know about LA. I kind of took the role of interviewing Philadelphia, and I learned a lot after that Philadelphia loss. I had to interview players that were crying. I had to interview players that were so heartbroken that they just lost a nail biter to Gareth Bale. Um, and I was I was lucky enough for MLS to use my videos for their official press conference quotes. So that was kind of a moment where I was like, you know what? I feel like maybe I can, if I did that, that's probably the hardest interview I ever did. If I could get Jack McGlynn to talk when he's bawling his eyes out about losing, because he's a 16-year-old kid, like, of course he's going to be crying. This is a big thing for these
Grown
players.
men do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, if I can do that, I felt like, I can ask Hani Mukhtar, is he going to Qatar? That felt pretty easy. I still remember his face. He's like, no, man, I love Nashville. I love the United States, so, and getting
But
to
yeah,
know,
I was surprised on that one.
yeah,
I was like, oh, what is when the rumor comes, especially when
right.
it comes to Qatar, it's like,
And that
what is he going to
and that
do?
rumor came out like 2 days before I got to ask him. And you should have saw me. I was speeding down DC. I was like, I'm gonna ask Hani Mukhtar because the way they set it up was Arsenal was practicing about an hour away at the almost at the same
Oh,
time as MLS. So you
oh,
you you had to choose either or. So I went to go ask Florian Balogun, the UMS MNT player, if he wants to play in MLS. And then I just got in the car and I was like, we're gonna go all the way an hour to go ask Hani Mukhtar. And I saw them packing up, and I literally ran out there with my phone and my mic, and I was like, Hani, do you want to go to Qatar? And it like it literally happened within 3 minutes of me running out of the car. So I have a lot of stories, but yeah, this felt like it was a seamless transition. I would say a lot of the guys that are doing it now, they're really good at what they do. But maybe I have a little bit of brassness to me. Maybe I have a little bit of how do I say this, unpolishedness to me, that I'll ask that question, and you might get some looks, but that's what the people want to know. At the time, Nashville was cheering because he's not going anywhere. So, but again, it was all good. He came to San Jose. He saw the FutWRK magazine, and he said hi to me. So at the end of the day, it was something that I was really proud of, and it goes hand in hand with covering the whole league.
yeah. Also, I guess if the MLS is listening, I think they gotta do better with that. If it's kind of hard, if Arsenal is there and the MLS,
Yeah,
that's like picking your mom or dad, who you go see first. That
right. Well,
that's kind of
Arsenal
wrong.
was really hard too because they just had a Balogun, and everybody wanted to know about
So
Balogun. He just had the best season in France. He just chose the USA. So we got it
he
done.
was it.
We got it done though. They do
Yeah.
that on purpose at these big events. They make sure that they can't load up too much media on one thing.
Oh, one team. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like pick your poison, really. And since my media is a little more MLS USMNT based, I kind of did what I had to do. When Declan Rice, I mean, great player, very famous
Yes.
player. When he came out to talk, I didn't really need to talk to him because I knew
Yes.
MLS fan bases would
Every
rather
single
want
one.
to know about MLS players and Balogun.
Yes, definitely. And plus anything that you want to know about Arsenal, they probably have that
Tons.
question
Yeah,
already.
AFTV, right? Like
Yes.
Jesus, they don't need me. my calling is definitely MLS, and I got a lot of love for MLS. So that's what motivates me too.
Yeah. So I guess when it comes to questions, then um, since you have interviewed almost future MVPs,
Yeah,
MVPs in the MLS, so is there I guess to make the call out now, was there any player that you're like hoping to get that um interview that was like
yeah.
I I'm there.
You see me brighten up,
Yeah.
like it's this is like the national treasure where we're trying to find the Declaration of Independence right now. Of course I want to interview Messi, right? Like that's the one, right?
Yes.
I miss Latan.
Uh,
I got an opportunity to talk to Chicharito, Vela, but those guys are huge names in Mexican Americans. I mean, those are number one
yes.
and two basically for a lot of Mexican American fans. But Messi's a different animal. I mean, they literally hired a whole new staff for just
That,
Messi games, right? Just so Messi doesn't have to talk to me, right? So that's one that maybe at the All Star game, because like I told you, I had like I said, 35 interviews.
yeah.
How is it going to
You get
work next year, right? Of course, I'm going straight to Messi if he's in the locker room and he's right there next to Busquets. Suarez right there
yeah.
next to him, Modric right
I,
there.
I think you might be in trouble if they have Suarez and Modric on there.
Right.
They, they might hire an entire SEAL team
Yeah.
to cover them. You probably will. Yeah, you probably need to be like upper level or that. If Modric comes and goes to Miami, you will probably see me book a flight to watch the game, no matter what the price
Right,
is.
right. But
Yes.
they're going to come to St. Louis. They're going to have a whole new schedule next year where they're going to go all over the country.
Oh no, I'm talking. I still will have to go St. Louis and Miami. He's one of those that he may not be on my top 5,
uh-huh.
Modric, because there's a very good lineup, but he's one of those almost like Messi, like where he doesn't say much.
Right,
He doesn't, he's not that flashy,
right, right.
but when he's on the field, there's that one pass from the left to the right.
Beauty.
The ball goes right to your feet. You're like, how did that guy settle the ball? It's like, no, it's not him. It's Modric that put it on his foot,
Right, 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 right.
and then he settled it. So yes,
Yeah,
you just said a name that kind of pushed me a little bit out of my questions.
yeah.
But Modric is Croatia is he's it.
And to be honest, my style of reporting is a little different. I try to go a way that hasn't been done before.
Right.
Like you said, what me trying to interview players. I do things that maybe some other reporters won't do. Like I make
Right.
sure I have two. This is gonna be weird, but I always make sure I have 2 or 3 photographers because
Okay.
if I get an interaction with the player where they're laughing or something like that, I'm not actually allowed to take a picture with the player. So
Okay.
I'm not
Makes sense.
allowed to be like, "Hey, can we take a picture?" But I am allowed to kind of interview the player, and if a picture is taken, I can use that.
And
So that's something where it's like, yeah, I definitely if I'm interviewing Messi, I'm gonna have to have all angles covered,
three
like
or five. Yes,
yeah.
you
So
need 5 on that. Yes.
and that's my marketing side coming out.
Yeah.
Reporters do a great job kind of being behind the scenes, but I feel like you kind of have to also help grow the game to the non-fans. And and
Yes.
and that's what I try to do the most on Instagram because I know Instagram people maybe a little bit of a soccer fan, maybe they're Liga and Mekis fans, maybe they're friends and family I've had from all my life, but like I said earlier, maybe they know who Luciano Acosta is now or Hani Mukhtar is now because they see a picture with me and Hani and say, why does he have a picture with
And
Hani? Right?
yeah.
So they're little things, little tricks I try to do to kind of get that non-soccer fan to be a soccer fan. And I know for a fact, if I get a picture of interviewing Messi, everybody on my Instagram will probably be like, okay, where did Messi play? Why is he in the USA? Why is he talking to this schmuck Favi? Why is he
No,
hanging
not a
out,
shock.
like here laughing? So I like adding things that maybe asks more questions. And that's just me. I also like to get that photo to add kind of credibility. It means a lot to my credibility because if I post a quote, I think by now people should believe it. But if you're starting in this game, some people can still think it's misinformation or fake news,
Right.
or it's not. It was just blatantly fake. So if I have a picture with me and Fagundes, and Fagundes said this tweet, it's like, and I post the video too, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
no, he's really telling the truth, you know. So that's another part about it, especially coming out as an independent. You have to build that credibility because
Right.
you don't have the Athletic to back you, or you don't have MLS to back you. You have to back yourself. So just little things that, you know. But Messi, back to your question, Messi would be that
Yeah.
one interview. But I would probably ask something about Suarez. I would probably make a viral moment because, like, when I asked Hanny, you know, did Walker influence you at all? And Walker was right there, and I got that moment, right? So
Right.
my marketing background is like, make that viral moment. You know, get Messi to talk about Suarez with Suarez right there. Like, hey man, did he start the mate today or did you? You know, something like that. It wouldn't, because there's so many questions about Messi already. You know, make him laugh a little bit. You know, ask him about the pizza. Hey, yo, what happened with the pizza? You know, like something different. You
Yeah,
know,
and I think that's some of those things that's kind of
right?
missing, um, especially when and I guess I've been lucky enough to be around other
Yeah,
players growing up, since I played academy soccer. So I've had some interaction, and I think that's probably what also a lot of my posts that comes into, the try to kind of get the more human
yeah,
side
exactly.
of the post. So even though we know that everyone wants to be a professional journalist and criticize or
Right.
come to those parts, I typically see the other side of things. Um, a lot of them prefer the motivation with a little bit of criticism than oh, you were awful yesterday, and then here's why,
Right.
even though some of those people never played sport before.
Exactly.
So,
And me, I've never been a pro, right? I've never played in college, right? So who am I to
but
tell?
your demeanor, pretty much from what I see from those interviews, and make them comfortable
Yeah,
to speak.
yeah,
I think that's what kind of draw me to a lot of your
yeah.
content.
If I make them laugh, it's going to be a good interview. So that's kind
Yes.
of what I always think. They're going to open up more. So my whole thing is making them laugh.
Yeah, and I reach out to players all the time, especially with their national teams.
Yeah,
I always send them a message. It's like, hey, how about your national team? And um, they've had some fun conversations on that.
yeah.
So it's always nice. So yeah, and I know I'm trying not to take too much of your
Totally
time
fine,
because I think it's late, but so other than that, so we do know that you have footwork
Mhm.
and a lot of your content on there. So is there any other projects or any content that you would like to share with, I guess, our St. Louis folks? Even though not everybody listening to this podcast, but I have almost 22,000 friends that I
Yeah,
will get to see on Saturday. So the floor is all
yeah.
yours.
Maybe I don't have anything that's gonna be, too out of left field. I don't have anything to drop brand new thing for you, but
Eh, no,
but the playoffs are coming around, and you best believe if St. Louis just beats San Jose, in San Jose, because they're gonna clinch it probably if they win in San Jose too.
I
You
can't
best
hear you. I can't
believe
hear
I'm gonna go interview Klaus like a Christmas tree. Like I'm gonna be
you.
saying, "Hey man, well, how do you feel? First playoff win for St. Louis. How do you feel for the city of St. Louis?" So keep an eye out for that, especially if you guys play San Jose. I'll definitely be interviewing St. Louis there. But if with footwork, like I said, Daniel Edelman, Henny Mukhtar, and Dennis Bouanga, Messi. If I didn't get to St. Louis this year, but we might actually sneak something in. Maybe it's going to have to be one of the first editions of next year because St. Louis is just a powerhouse in the soccer world. So I actually want to make it out there. I want to be able to be a part of it
Yeah.
before I ride on it. So I want to see the actual electric atmosphere that everybody talks about. I mean, Taylor Twellman can't stop raving about it, so I need to see it. Um,
Oh,
Shout out to St. Louis. How do you say St. Louisian?
it's St. Louisans.
St. Louis. Shout out to St. Louis and Taylor Twellman.
Yeah, so you have an open invitation. So I have season tickets, so you have a seat
Oh, I appreciate
with us
that. Yeah.
anytime. You just let us know, and we'll make sure you have that. And I'm sure the supporter side also, Estelle Santos and all that. I'm sure they will reserve one for
Oh, I
you. So
appreciate it. That's very
all you
sweet.
have to do is book the flight.
Yeah, right. I know. That's an expensive flight though.
Oh, not No, not too bad.
I gotta go to the enemy first. I gotta go to Kansas City, and then you gotta go to St. Louis, right?
No, you don't need to go to Kansas City. And the fun part about it is I actually lived in Kansas
Oh
City.
wow.
I even played 2 years of high school in Kansas
Oh
City.
cool.
So so I was sort of a fan for when it was the Kansas City
Hmm.
Wizards. So they were playing in Kansas City, Missouri.
Right.
I don't know if you saw the joke where it says like we always call it Kansas
Yeah, because it's right next to
because
it. Yeah.
that's because they want to cross the border to build that stadium there.
Right.
So it's always, in Kansas. But when I was sort of a
Uh
fan,
huh.
they were in the state of Missouri where St. Louis
Got it.
is.
Okay.
So for me, my connection is more on the Kansas City Wizards
Got it.
when they were in Missouri. Then once they moved to Kansas, for me, I'm like one of those European guys that you leave that city, you can't call yourself the pastor.
Right.
You know, you can't leave London and say, hey, now I'm in Manchester and I'm still a London team.
Right.
That's
Yeah, you
that's how
probably
it
have a
is.
hard time then because of all the teams in I mean regular NFL football, like San Francisco
Yeah.
49ers play in basically San Jose. So it's like,
Yes.
all right,
And you're
yeah,
like,
right.
yeah. As long as they don't move there, as long as they always been there, then it's always good. But it's
Yeah,
one of the banters.
right,
But NFL is a whole another beast
right.
where I guess they're not really tied to a team to a city
At
from
all.
especially from what I've heard from St. Louis and Cronky.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, it's
y-
St. Louis,
you,
yeah.
you hear those stories. It's like you say that name. I think the entire state of Missouri cringes.
Right.
And I guess you just saw that he's trying to fight with
I
FIFA
saw
for
that.
the World
Yeah,
Cup so far. So um, clearly, I guess there's a point why St. Louis is not too fan of him.
yeah. I would get it. I would understand. Yeah.
So I think if that's pretty much it, is unless there's anything else you have in mind.
Yeah, if you have any more questions, I don't mind the time. So I'm thinking. I mean, I'm so excited to be on. This is
Uh,
awesome. Thank you so much
uh,
for your time. Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for everything that's happened. It's all a snowball. It's only gonna get bigger.
mhm.
But I promise I won't just talk about Messi. I'll talk about St. Louis too.
I know. I think for me, is as long as if Messi's playing St. Louis, you can do it for an entire week. That piece, right? But when it's San Jose against St. Louis, and then somebody says, "Hey, Messi did this," you're like, "Oh, come on, we're wrong topic."
Well, so that's why I try to be a MLS reporter than just
Mhm,
San Jose because I wanted to kind of expand.
mhm.
And you know what? A lot of people like to have beat reporters, right? And only beat
Yes,
reporters. And it's tough to make that jump from beat reporter to a league reporter. So it's always a grind. It's always an uphill battle because people are really tied to their own team. Um, but
yes, uh, that's why I respect a lot of the
yeah,
journalists, especially like Taylor Twellman, for example, when he's reporting St. Louis playing against Kansas City, he still has to be neutral
right,
for 99.999% of the time.
right,
So it's definitely one that I for journalists is like the utmost respect on that part because it's like we all know you have your own team
right.
that you support through and through, but you still have to be neutral, I guess, in front of the camera.
Right. Or on
So
Twitter, or
yeah,
yeah,
oh yes,
in front of the keyboard.
yeah, yeah. And I think especially one thing that's so refreshing about yourself is we do see a lot of the MLS specific
Yep.
reporters. Um, I think, especially for me, a lot of there's maybe too much numbers. The game time.
Right.
I'm one of those guys where I rather see a player dribble
Yeah,
and
exactly.
see where he's doing and going left and right, and the data, the information
Yeah.
of like expected goals. Um,
Right. Yeah.
you almost lose me. I think they start using it more now in Europe as
Yeah.
well. But you lose me very quickly when you like expected goals, expected pass. I'm like,
Yeah, expected
I can
saves.
tell you when you're on the field, you don't see X's and O's and see, hey,
Right.
I'm at, X
Right.
this. It's like,
Yeah,
I want to see a guy dribble 5 players and then turn around, pass it, and score.
right.
Yes.
I'm not the biggest XG guy. I'm not the biggest X's and O guy. But if Andy Mukhtar wants to play for USA, I'll be the one to ask him
Yeah.
that question. So
Yes.
That's a great example of my work, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
Awesome. So yes, and we have great experts that takes care of that
Already,
part,
right?
which
So yeah,
makes the story for us.
exactly.
Awesome. So yes, so I guess since we have a little bit more time,
Yeah, go ahead.
um, I guess you want to talk about your MVP end of the year awards.
Ooh, all right, all right. You know what? I'll second thought. I'm going. No, I was kidding. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Dennis Bawanga is my MVP because he has crazy hair. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
I think he's had a
Well, if you say goals and stuff, that's different
yeah.
than like the
Right, right, right,
XG
right.
thing,
Well,
expectations and stuff.
Danny Bawanga from the left corner of the 90 actually no, has the XG of this.
Yeah, that's when you lose me.
Yeah, yeah. No, but if you look at just run of play goals, Danny Bawanga has the most, and I mean Acosta has like maybe 8 or 9 penalties. So I kind of took that into perspective. I actually think this LAFC team isn't as strong as people think. I know it's hard to kind of believe that LAFC isn't as strong as a team as everybody thinks they were last year, but I would say this team's actually a little bit of a shell of what it was last year. And I think
Which that's scary if you're saying that they're not
they're
this year.
not as strong as they were last year. I think they had a lot more depth last year. They had Bale coming off the bench. They had Cifuentes coming off the bench. Um, they now, I mean, who else did they have? Brian Rodriguez, but he wasn't really doing much for them. But I mean, they had Chicho Arango, right? A player that's a superstar for RSL now. So they brought in a guy like Kike Oliveira. They brought in a guy named Mario. Super Mario is what they call him. But
Nice.
they haven't really showed up. And, Bawanga didn't really show up until the playoffs last year. So maybe things change and once playoff time comes around. But a team that like LAFC, I mean, LAFC lost what, 2 finals? Or, yeah, 2 finals this year, I
Yep.
believe.
Yep.
Campeones and CCL. So they need a big superstar to show up in the right moments. And during group games and during MLS regular season games, that was Denny Bawanga. I felt
Right.
like he actually did a lot on run of play goals. I think Lucho Acosta still had a better overall season, but I also
Right.
think his numbers are a little inflated on the goal side with all the penalties.
Yeah, I think that's the part that people do put questions.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think for us bias from St. Louis, even though it's extremely rare to have a goalie as the
right,
MVP, but we almost have as like if we didn't have Berkey in goals,
right.
we we would not have been a top or even middle without those crazy saves that he've had during the season. I think that's where um I guess from the St. Louis
Right.
side, the debate was on.
And my whole thing is like, why does he have so many saves though? What are you doing, Parker? What are you doing over there?
Well, we won't talk about that one. Not the MVP. So we'll just say that we let other teams have their
Yeah.
chances to score
Berkey's having
very
a
clean.
great season though. He should win goalkeeper of the year.
Yeah,
I made a mistake. I actually released my list and then I was wrong. I was big time wrong. I'll admit it. I was wrong. Berkey should have been on my list and then I changed it. Berkey's on my list.
St. Louis will appreciate you on that part. They give kudos to every reporters
Yeah.
that said St. Louis was going to be dead last, and I think a few came back. It's like, all right, I'm sorry, we were wrong, and everybody just let that one
Look,
slide.
I'm a reporter that
Yes.
can admit they're wrong. I mean, I one time was against the whole LAFC fan base, So
Oh,
yeah, so I have a nickname out there. They call me Mr. Big Yikes because I said they were going to lose to Monterey Bay in U.S. Open Cup, and they ended up winning. So
oh,
yeah, I was put on a shirt, right? So and then I right when you get
it's not bad news, right?
you get
Hey,
put on
you're
a
on the
shirt.
shirt now.
But
Yeah,
no, the next 2 or 3 weekends I was out there, talking to all the fans, and they were all having a blast because it's all about being a good sport. You can't think too highly of yourself because we're all watching the same game. You don't have a special
right.
set of binoculars that makes your game different than others, but everyone's gonna have different opinions, and that's the beauty of it, right? You get to talk to different
Yes.
people with different opinions.
Yep, and I think that's what I always say. All the teams that we lost
Yeah,
against, even after that, it's like, hey, good game. The banters before that were fun. You guys won. congratulations, and then you just go on. It's just I guess the extra stuff is pointless.
Yeah, and you just got to tell them, hey, we're gonna beat you in the playoffs, so it's all good.
Yes. That's pretty much it. Yes. So you had MVP. So how and goalie.
Yeah.
So who would you say about
Defender.
say oh
Yeah,
yes.
so I put Matt Miazga. I felt like since he needs to be somewhere on my list. I know. But I felt like they had enough defenders. Villarreal was their left back. He had a good season, but he's more of an attacking left back for me. So I wanted to give it to someone on that back line, and I felt like Miazga is their leader in their back line.
I have a deep story about
Yeah.
Miazga. Because he played for I guess he's played in code for Chelsea.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be like our American
Yeah, the next
defender,
guy, right? Yeah.
but it did not work out at all. And then after that, the whole game, I guess against Mexico,
Right.
when he was like flexing and doing the whole height thing, I was like, dude, you did not make it to Chelsea, and you barely made it, and then you the whole flexing thing kind of turned me off from him. But then he had Cincinnati, and was like, maybe that was he went to Chelsea too early, maybe, because right now he's showing in Cincinnati that he is a heck of a defender. It's one of those things where maybe a player for too long, and the only thing you've known is that little, I guess, failure on that part. But I still think Parker had the better season than Miazga. But
I think so. My whole thing was. Yeah, I think Parker did have a good season too, but I can't give everything to St. Louis, But then
why not?
Berkey had so many saves, right? So that I was saying earlier, I was like, why did he have too many saves?
Parker was on the bench and he was hurt.
It was like 20 shots one game that he was on the bench.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, and I'll say, and I think defender is almost one of those hard things also to kind of give someone MVP, because you're not playing like back in the days where you were the sweeper, and you were the last man before the goalie. Now you always have 3, 2, or maybe 4 other defenders with you. So it's definitely one of those tricky where I guess it's a little biased. So midfielders.
Yeah, so midfielders. This I had it pretty stacked. I'm not gonna lie to you. I put everybody I could. I put
everybody.
Yeah, I put Espinoza. I put Almada. I put Mukhtar. I had Acosta, and then I think let me just think of
Leuven.
One more time. Yeah, I think that was 4. I had one more, if I'm not mistaken. But he's passing me. It's not Lowen. Sorry, guys. I think 4, maybe 4. Let me double check it actually. But young player of the year, I had Almada. I think that's a pretty easy one.
So is he still a new player?
Yeah, I don't think so either. He was there though. He was there. So yeah, he's going up against rookie of the years and MLS Next Pro guys, and I'm like, oh well.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering. I was like, he played last year. It's like, is it newcomer or young?
It just says newcomer. So
so I mean, newcomer should be like a fresh off the
boat
player
last year through the season.
So he's still he's still not qualified if you came halfway.
You know how bad I wanted to put Messi there. No,
oh yeah, you.
Well,
you would start a riot on that.
On the GM side of things, yeah, he's definitely the newcomer of the year, right?
Yeah, because they're laughing straight to the bank.
Right. So, and then so we went over goalkeeper, defender, coach. I put Noonan because they won the Supporter Shield. But St. Louis City had a great season too, so that could go your guys' way. So that could go either way. And then comeback player of the year, I had the enemy, Alan Pulido, because I felt like he did come back.
Yeah, he made us pay in Kansas City, even though we took over his stadium. He kind of shut us down, and I was there too, so I was the front row to see it. Yeah, he was good.
Yeah,
but then after that, we kind of shut him down back in St. Louis, so that was kind of a payback.
Right.
But I will definitely say, and I think the fun part for the coach, if for any St. Louis natives, if Noonan wins it, they will still celebrate because he's a St. Louis
Oh,
kid
okay.
that grew up and played soccer here, so his whole family's still here. So they're like, me on more the sports side,
Right.
since I live in St. Louis, but not on my roots. But St. Louis, they will celebrate if it's Noonan because it's the St. Louis kid,
Yeah.
and then or it's Carnell because he's the coach.
Right.
So it's one of those things where we kept telling Cincinnati fans, it's like, if he wins it, you're welcome, because it took a St. Louis kid to bring you back to away from the wounds.
Right.
I think,
Yeah. So I actually just brought it up here. I had Berkey as my goalie, Parker as a defender, Jansen from Orlando City, he had a good season, and Miazga as a defender. And then in the midfield, I had Almada, Espinoza, Hector Herrera. We haven't talked about him, Acosta, and Mukhtar. I felt like that's a stacked midfield. I mean, you can't get better than that. And then as strikers, I had Cucho from Columbus and Boanga.
those two make sense.
Yeah. And then
So you're gonna have to get me with Boanga because I have a few questions for him in French, if that works.
Oh yeah. I mean, he speaks a little bit of English now, but yeah, in French, I'll be hey, he's my translator. Yeah.
You see, that's how it works. That's how it works.
I'll hold the camera then.
There you go. And then I can just send it. I won't send it back to France because Saint Etienne and PSG are just a little bit of enemies.
Right.
It just brings the story. Awesome. So is there anything else you wanted to know about? Oh, so one last question then. So who do you expect to win the MLS Cup?
Oof, that's a tough one. This is going to be a new one because you play home and away, so I think you're going to get less variables. The lower seeded teams, very, very unlikely ever go too far. So with St. Louis's atmosphere, I definitely see them being in the final. I think they're going to be a tough opponent for anybody going into St. Louis, facing that atmosphere, because it's just going to be rocking. And on the East, I don't want to say it's going to be Cincinnati because, top one and top one. I think maybe Columbus has a good chance. They have a very high-powered offense. So I want to see Columbus in that final. And then, St. Louis, Columbus, we might see 8 goals. So it's something that's going to be a lot of fun. I think.
And we have unfinished business because they beat us.
Yeah.
So yes, there's unfinished.
I think
business.
I think it's going to be LAFC, St. Louis in the semifinal. And I think, like I was talking earlier, LAFC is a shell of what it was last year. I think they're going to come up a little short.
I will record that.
Oh wait, no.
Because that's definitely, and I will pray to it. It happened, but yes.
Yeah, so I think St. Louis will make the final.
Awesome. Yeah, so if it's at home, I'm pretty confident on that part. So yes, and we're playing next Saturday, so that's going to be a fun one. Yeah. All right, so pretty much, I think that wraps up our interview. I think it was awesome conversation. And I guess as we wrap up this incredible conversation with Fabian, I'd like to thank you for sharing your fascinating journey, insight in your mind of a journalist. We'll say, probably my favorite journalist in MLS.
Man, don't say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will say it. And one of the reasons why is because, it's less scripted, and also that hustle of, like I said earlier, your camera and just the microphone. I'm a type of hustling guy, so that does it for me.
Thank you. I that means a lot to me. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Excellent. So for any listeners, thanks for the support, and also let's make sure that we follow Fabian on all his social platforms.
Hey,
I'll make sure
and follow Mo Football. I mean, come on, what's going on here?
Yes. Oh, it's advertisement. It's coming up. Yes, and also make sure you follow for any updates, interviews, and all things soccer. And also make sure to follow Mo Football on all social platforms. And there's a lot more coming up. I have a few more surprise interviews.
Yeah, you do.
And there's also a few players that will be coming up soon.
Oh, I'm excited.
I know Fabian will be
I'll be watching.
We'll like to see those
I'll be
happens.
watching. That's for
And
sure.
yes.
Yeah.
And so definitely more things coming up. So make sure you leave 5-star
Always.
reviews on Spotify and Apple.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it is Apple
Apple.
Podcast. And stay tuned for more episodes. So my friend, definitely appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
And I hope we'll catch up during playoff
Definitely.
time.
Definitely.
All right, so you have a good night. Oh, and also that cute son of yours, keep
Oh,
those
thank you.
pictures coming because I'm sure next up will be the next MLS MVP.
Yeah,
maybe?
hopefully, hopefully he keeps a smile on his face like his dad does, no matter what. And this is a little cute thing I always do for my son. I always get like jerseys for him, and every jersey I get, I try my best to make him involved. So all the players always put to Leo, right, my son. So I'm always very
Nice.
grateful for that. So that's always a nice thing. He's gonna have the most killer MLS jersey collection when he's a little older,
I'm
right?
jealous already.
But yeah, that's the
Yeah,
little soft side of me.
and I think you're doing probably the best part is that you put his name on
Of
it as
course. Yeah.
personalized, because then that's one of many. That's just
Right.
one.
Right.
It's, it's Leo, it's the reckless.
Yeah.
That's definitely a nice
And don't
touch.
ask me. I did not name my kid for Messi. Okay.
No, I was not gonna ask, but I have Argentine friends that they named their name
I always
Messi.
I always joke and say it's short for Galileo. So
I'm mad at it. And you probably can see a lot of parents have some of those names incorporated
right.
in it. I think the famous one is Ronaldo. With the original
Right.
Ronaldo. I think I still haven't figured out how one Ronaldo passed it to another
Yeah.
one, and then both being goats.
Right.
I don't know. So just name your name Ronaldo, and he might be the next superstar.
Right. Right. I know, right? We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So definitely appreciate
No,
your
thank
time,
you.
and we'll catch up
Definitely.
soon.
Definitely.
All right. Take care and have a
Have
good
a good
night.
one.
All right. Peace.